Tim's swishy jacket.
Hey, Tim, don't move.
Him in his snowsuit, swishing.
It's like Seinfeld when George is walking down with the suit.
With the pants? Is it pants?
Yeah, the pants.
Yeah.
You'll have if you're one of us, you'll take a bite.
All right, here we go, guys. Ready?
Wait, I'm gonna leave.
Okay. I have to edit all this out.
I know, it's easy edit, right?
So you think.
All right, see ya.
See you, Tim. Take your snowsuit with you.
I love Tim.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining us. This is podcast number 4 in our series from Learn From Us Investor Academy. As always, I gotta be careful not to hit the mic.
Yeah, you can't do that.
I'm Seth Paul. This is the man, Paul. Paul, thank you so much for lunch today. It was wonderful. I was gonna say thank you for joining us, but
We didn't have lunch today.
no, I know.
I was at Walsh.
How was it?
It was good. I brought you up.
What do you do at Walsh?
Oh, we do a lot of stuff with the school.
Tell me about your teaching at Walsh.
Oh, that one's great. I teach every other Friday. This was my idea 6-7 years ago. I called Walsh and said, hey, I want to teach. I said, no. I said, no, I really want to teach. I said, no. The reason was...
This is Walsh Jesuit High School in Cuyahoga Falls.
Yes.
Keep going.
And the reason was, they said that years before, someone had said the same thing, and they scheduled it, and the guy never showed up. So they were worried the same thing was going to happen. Now we're 6 years running. I've only missed 1 year, and only because they had 3 classes that year, and I couldn't do all 3 classes. And the teacher rightly said, Paul, if you can't do all 3, I can't give you just 1 or 2. I said, okay, so since then, but I've only missed 1 year and 6, and I teach them about life, business, investing, everything.
How do the kids react to it?
They love it. I mean, listen, when you were in high school and you had a guest speaker come in, how excited were you? And every other Friday, a guest speaker who cracks jokes and says inappropriate things comes into school and talks about money and saving and life and all that stuff.
What do you see in the youth of today, high school kids?
I like them. I absolutely like them. I'm more worried about the parents. We've talked about that, right?
Well, they're a little bit older than us, some of them. I mean,
yeah, actually, it's a good question.
Mid-20s would be about maybe 7 years older than us. Or, what I mean to say is, if you had a kid in your mid-20s, you'd be like maybe 40-something now.
Yeah, they're not much older than us.
Yeah, not much older. So, yeah. Well, listen, you just got an update on your phone, and I love when you get fired up about stuff. You were talking about the house flipping market.
Yes.
I know this is where a lot of people start. They see all the HGTV shows, how much money can be made, how cheap a house flip can be, how there's never any problems, and there's always handsome hosts like myself walking through the house. But tell me what the info that you got and your thoughts about it.
So CNBC has an article today, and it says, home flippers are fleeing the market as their profits shrink. Flipping volume has been falling annually by double-digit percentages for 3 months. In California, where home prices are highest, flips were down a steeper 22% annually. Gross flipping returns in August fell to the lowest level in nearly 7 years. This is wonderful news. And the reason this is wonderful is when a lot of people are trying to do something, what happens to the margins? It gets smaller and smaller and smaller. Yeah. So now that the margins got so small, what are people doing? They're leaving. It's part of a cycle, and cycles happen. The cycle became lots of flippers, margins became small, and eventually margins are so small they have to exit, and they go do other deals. They go leave those deals. So what happens to the margins then? They start to go back up again. We made our biggest margins in the worst housing market in the history of the United States and probably of the world. We made the most money per flip. We were making 45, 50, 55% on flips. 4 or 5 months into them. So 100% annual returns. And now when we see deals, we can't even get deals where we're making 15%. Why is that? Because the market's so much stronger, people are all doing it, more competition. People don't think that way. And that's what we're trying to teach people how to think, is that when more people want to do something, that's when you want to avoid it, because the prices go higher and the returns go smaller.
You said the same thing to me. I came across sort of a little bit of an investment I had, and I wanted to start maybe flipping some houses. And currently, I'm sitting on my money. Mm-hmm. So elaborate on why maybe someone in that position would want to learn now and wait for the best time.
So when I said I made the most money in the worst market, it took confidence to do that. Most people back then were like, this is crazy. I'm not going to invest in this market. Houses are a terrible investment. But I saw it and said, well, because they think that, I can buy the house for very cheap, where it makes it good enough, where I can put it low enough price where it's going to sell fast. So when we teach people that, and you get them acclimated to understand the numbers, when the time is right and prices are low and people are all scared, you will not be scared. Think about every job you do. Look at you. You're a host and a video guy. If you told me to be a host and a video guy, I'd be scared shitless, right? But if you taught me how to do it and we did 100 of these, would I be scared anymore?
Oh, you're getting better and better on camera as you progress, you know.
Well, thank you. I have good tutelage. Is that the right thing? But the whole thing about investing is if you don't understand how you can make money and understand those fundamentals, you're going to be scared at all times. The second you understand them, it will not be hard for you to go, oh, great, housing prices are down 30%. Sweet, I'm going to go buy a ton. And that's what we did. We made so much money between 2008 and 2012. It was ridiculous. And now we're like, this is hard. And we find deals still, but it's very few. I've got a whole home flipping team up there, upstairs. We do 4 or 5 a year now versus we could easily handle 25 or 30.
What's holding normal people back from getting investors alongside them if they don't have a big track record? Thinking like, going back to myself, getting done with my first flip, we had a hard time, of course, finding any money. I partnered with a guy who did all the work, overvalued his work, undervalued my money, which rightfully so, I would assume someone would do that. So I guess my question is I think the getting going process holds a lot of people back. So you always talk about the B to Y steps of getting to A to Z. And so what are those first few that you might tell people right now to get ready for the fall?
So one, learning how to flip. What's involved in numbers? What does it cost to rehab? What does it cost to demo? What does it cost to drywall? What does it cost to do a kitchen? All those costs. 2, learn how to find deals that are going to be a little bit better, off-market deals. If a deal's on the market, everybody's going to see it quickly. You got to be able to act quick.
What are some of those steps? That all people know is MLS.
Yeah,
What are
because you're
some
going
of
to
those
a realtor.
steps?
Seeing for sale by owner signs, estate sales, direct mail, just sending postcards to people saying, hey, have you thought about selling your house? Those things work. Telling people on your Facebook, hey, we're flipping houses now. If you or somebody you know wants to sell a house fast, I can get you an offer very quickly. People value time and money. If you can get them an offer fast and you close fast, they're going to discount. If they don't discount, it shows you where the market is. Right now, I've been told recently, the same thing I was told in 2006, cash is the same as financing. It's not the same, but the market's so strong right now for financing that people think, oh, I can just offer financing. It's not going to matter. It's going to go through anyhow, right? And in 2010, if you offered anything having to do with financing, people are like, yeah, we're not going to even take this offer.
Yeah.
2 years later, and people are going to say, 3 years later, I'm not going to take this offer. So those are some of the things you can do. In terms of raising money, listen, everybody has family. Everybody has friends that trust you. Just go out to them and say, hey, I want to go flip this house for 100 grand. I'm putting 50 in. Would 10 of my friends do 5,000 each? What's the big deal? Family members. Everybody gets to start from family members. I don't want to hear it from people saying, my family doesn't trust you. Your family doesn't trust you. It's probably your fault they don't trust you.
Sure.
But everybody wants to go invest and get situated. The hardest part's going to be when you rely on other people and we teach you the right way of doing it, when the time is tough for everybody else and good for you, it's going to be harder to raise money because people are going to be, well, times are tough right now. The market's down, all that stuff. So that's the only hard part.
Sure.
Everybody has family who trust them. Everybody has friends who trust them. Seth, I like you. I talk to you. Hey, listen, let's invest in a deal together. I don't know anything about you. I mean, we know each other, but we've never done a deal together. This is our first time working together. But I'd still look at it because I'd guide you. I'd be like, hey, let's look at this. Look at this. Do you know what I mean?
How does this hands-on guiding work with your Learn From Us?
Well, so people can choose what they want to do. Do they want to flip houses, do single-family home rentals, apartment buildings?
What do you advise for new people?
It depends what your goal is. If your goal is to generate extra income and cash flow every year, I recommend flipping. If your goal is to build long-term wealth, I recommend houses or apartments. You're going to make more money in apartments than houses. But houses are easier to sell someday when you want to sell them. There's pros and cons to everything, Seth. But we started flipping because we want to generate more cash flow. Because we don't want to take our apartment income, the cash flow, we reinvest it all back in apartments. We don't want to live off that money. We don't want to do anything with that money. With the flips, it's buy, rehab, sell, 6 to 9 months, you get a nice check. It's all profit. It's said and done.
Yeah.
With apartments, it's buy, rehab, rent, refinance, rent, take the cash, go rehab more. I mean, it's a long process, but it's building wealth. But then again, you wake up 10 years later and you're like, holy cow, look what I got here. This is incredible. And then you realize how short your career could be by just acting immediately.
There was a gal in Columbus I met, and her whole sole job was she was flipping houses. It didn't seem like she was like actually throwing the hammer on these houses, but
Yeah, you don't need to.
she told me this equation, and I want to get your thoughts on it. She said she was trying to buy houses for about $50,000. She was trying to put $50,000 into them and sell for $150,000.
It's a little bit tighter for us. It's a little tight for us. We want to sell for 67% above our total investment. Purchasing, rehabbing, and carry costs, like taxes, insurance, interest.
So buy at 100, sell at 167, you're saying?
Correct. That's where it hits our numbers where we go, yep, we can take a downturn in the market, we can take this, we can afford all these things. Like, we've seen that number. Now, does that mean we wouldn't take 150? Hey, in the right submarket where things we think could sell quickly or there's a short supply, everything's about the situation. But for us, it's basically 67% above what we're into.
She was running 6 flips at a time.
Listen, when you do that, the volume, it can work out. And 50% above, she'll probably do pretty well. That's good. Good for her.
Yeah.
And you're doing 5 or 6 at a time, yeah, you're gonna do pretty well. How fast is she turning these things?
Obviously, that's a main variable I wasn't able to. I guess that's a main variable I didn't really think about. I mean, if it takes 10 years, terrible idea. So people who are starting, if they want to get into their first pieces of real estate, where do we look? You know, I went to the sheriff sales, checked MLS, tried to talk to as many people as I could, drove around. There's houses right now in Columbus for sale for $6,000 with boarded up windows.
In what kind of areas?
They're typically in lower demand areas. So you got the boarded, like I said,
Hence why the prices are $6,000.
boarded up windows, cars in the front yard. They're down there for $6,000, $8,000. I always wonder, like, how bad could it? Going back to my original question, where is a good place for people to start looking for potentially their first rent or their first flip, or not even the first of many, maybe their first 10?
I can't say. What I can say is we would look at the returns and see what their goals are.
That's what's the more important part. You've said this before, location.
People say location in real estate, and I want to throw a chair at everyone who says that. It is absolutely asininely stupid. It's another example, like Warren Buffett always says, every bubble begins with a very sound premise. The sound premise in real estate is, hey, location, location, location. The problem is it's been overdone and over talked about. So now people sit there and go, well, I've got to pay more. It's a great location. I'm willing to pay more. It's a great location. Okay, it's a great location. So does that mean that I'm willing to be into it for 100 and sell it for 110? No, it's not worth my time. And a 9% decrease, and at 110, you're going to pay $6,000 to sell it. You make $4,000 on a $100,000 investment. Does that sound pretty good? The market turns just a little bit, you're done.
Yeah.
That's where I'd look at. You have to look at margins and say, listen, the only thing I tell my staff is, I'm not willing to go to a market where I'm afraid for you to be in. That's it. If you're not afraid, and if we can't leave it at night and not worry about things being sold, I don't care.
Yeah.
You know, there's a submarket we love for rental, and some people in Cleveland think it's a terrible location. I'm like, it's great. It does phenomenal for us. We do that video on Ramage. It's in Maple Heights. I love Maple Heights.
Beautiful.
And you tell me people, and there's tons of people who say, I would never live in Maple Heights. Great, good for you. Okay, fine. I love it because we buy a house and we're in it for $45,000. We get $1,100 a month in rent, and it's fully rehabbed, top to bottom, granite countertops, tile, everything.
What kind of connections did you have to get to that house at that price?
So that's exactly what it was. It was a connection from somebody who called Tim and said, hey, I have a deal for you guys. Are you interested? But you have to move fast. What's the deal? Blah, blah. Okay, we'll buy it for this. Sounds good. Close in a week. Done.
Yeah.
Guess what? I'm not doing a property inspection. I'm not doing so many things. I don't care.
For that amount of money, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I'm not going to screw that one up. I'm not going to lose money in that deal.
Yeah. How often do those come about?
Well, back in the day, it was every week.
Really?
Oh, we bought a property a week. We would turn down properties going, okay, it's just not as good a deal. We were buying houses our average was $8,000 a house. And now, like the one in the Fluke, yeah, the average back in 2010, 2011, 9 was $80,000 a house. Listen, when you have a small amount of money, it's easier to find better deals because you can be pickier and just go hustle. When you have more money, you got to deploy more capital. Warren Buffett always says, I love talking about Warren Buffett, but he always says, As we get bigger and bigger, it's harder for us to make better and better returns because it's going to be harder for us to deploy larger amounts of capital.
Yeah.
So when you only have $10, $15, $20, $25,000 to invest and you can borrow some money from banks and stuff, that's where you can make real great returns. Warren Buffett always says, if I only had $5 million, I'd make 100% return a year for a while because I can be much pickier about my deals. Yeah. And it's the truth. It's absolutely the truth.
So I know you get fired up, basically pissed off when you see.
It's bad.
I showed you that video with one of our buddies.
Yeah.
But I see it all the time. These guys holding up the checks.
Yeah.
So you've opted to not hold up checks, not show a Lamborghini in the background, whether it's yours or yours isn't. You haven't put the Bentley in a video yet. And I think that brings hope to people. But it's funny is when sleazier guys do it, it looks really sleazy and cheesy. So why have you opted not to do?
Well, first off, it's interesting you say that. You asked me earlier, what do I think of the kids today? If you asked 1,000 people in a room, what do you think of kids today? What would they say?
Oh, God. Millennials are terrible, lazy, they don't work, they want to sit around, they don't.
And what did you say once before about that?
Well, it's funny is I think they're the smartest generation. I think these kids are incredible.
Well, of course they are, but what did you say about the parents? Remember, was it you who said that? We were talking about these kids weren't born this way.
Oh, well, yeah, Brian Kite of Focus 3.
Brian says these kids weren't born this way.
They didn't entitle themselves. They didn't give themselves 8th place trophies.
Correct. So the interesting part, though, is that when we talk about all these guys who are doing the Lambos and the private jets and the Bentleys, people say, like, oh, that's so cheesy, but it works. People love it because they still see success. And guess what? I'm just as guilty, Seth. Literally the other day, one of the tenants in the building says they have a financial management firm. They sell insurance. I'm fine with that. But they said they were a wealth manager. They're not a wealth manager. And the guy left the other day and he was driving a shitty car. You know, I thought to myself, oh, you're real successful, you have a shitty car. So I was buying into the same BS that I said before. But I wasn't sitting there saying I need to see him driving a Bentley. But don't drive a rusted out, beat up crap. Drive a newer car that makes you show a little more prestige. It's also about self-confidence thing. I'm not asking that guy to drive a Rolls Royce. All I'm sitting there saying is, hey, for what a big shot you claim to be, you drive a pretty crappy car. So we're all guilty of that image thing, right? I just don't think it's easy to sell flash. It's harder to sell results. Flash is easy. They can go rent a Bentley. You can go rent a Lamborghini. I can go sit there and call somebody and say, hey, I'm going to go, do you have a private jet I can just sit in and take a video of it, right?
Your buddy Mark Cahoe.
Mike Cahoe.
Mike?
Mike.
My apologies.
Yes.
One of his first clients wanted to come see his office.
Yeah. And what'd he do?
So he hired 15 of his buddies, rented office furniture, and pretended to have an office for a day.
And the guy came and said what to him?
You have a really tight ship here. So listen, why are so many guys? I mean, you know, I understand why so many guys are flocking to that, showing Lamborghinis, showing these amazing deals. I showed you that video with Grant Cardone, and he's just flipping through $1 million deals.
$100 million deals. Here's a $100 million deal. I don't know if we're going to buy it or not. It's like, boy, if it's so flippant, literally, that you can just be like, I don't know if I'm going to buy it or not, doesn't that tell us something's wrong? When in 2006, you could be a landscaper and get a $500,000 credit line to buy houses, does that tell you something's wrong? When just buy real estate, doesn't matter. Just buy real estate to do well. Doesn't that tell you something's wrong? That's the way I think. People are watching this right now probably going, what's wrong with that? There's something so fundamentally wrong with that anybody who has a camera is all of a sudden a photographer. Anybody who has a computer is suddenly a graphic designer.
Yeah.
Clearly not. Clearly that's not the case. Give me a hammer. It doesn't make me a construction worker, please. Trust me on this one. We don't want me doing any construction. It's just, when I look at these parents, these people, who say the same thing about these kids, but they're the reason for that. And then we criticize people who are flashy, but really in this country, we like flashy. We like the people who live in the baller, and then show it all off. We're in Richfield, Ohio. This building is not sexy. I love this building.
Yeah.
But I'm not in downtown Cleveland. I'm not, which even some people would even sit there and say Cleveland, but I'm not in a skyscraper somewhere. Why is that? Because I don't want to pay $80 a square foot in rent for Wall Street, for it to be on Wall Street. That doesn't make sense to me. I'd rather be in this place, which costs me, essentially my mortgage is $2 $2 a year in rent. $2 per square foot in rent is what my mortgage is every single year. $250. I look at that going, I'm a value guy. I just want I can make this space nice. I need to house people and have them. Now, is there a psychological aspect to it? Yeah, but you look at us. We went and really did the nice interior, and that has helped us. And I'm sure if we were on Wall Street, it would help us get more attention. But I just don't believe in that flash for that. Let me look at the way we're dressed right now. You're in jeans. You're in a polka dot shirt. It's like, what's it called? Twister? You have like Twister on your shirt.
Thank you. This is very expensive G-Star shirt.
I'm sure it is. I'm wearing shoes I bought from Instagram, and I don't mean that to be like I'm Mr. Because I have nice stuff still, but at the same point, I have nice stuff, and I don't sit there and go, hey, look at my nice stuff. I always joke and tell people, if you didn't know me but you're my Facebook friend, you don't know what I have. The only thing I advertise is our One Mexico house, and that's only because I want to get sales from it.
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to pat myself on the back. It's just we made these guys like this as a society. We valued this as a society because we've become a consumer society. 70% of our GDP is us buying stuff. We value that very greatly.
So you've told me, and it's one of the foundations of your teachings, about finding the best deals. And something that never went through my mind about good deals versus bad deals. I mean, I had a hard enough time just finding deals. But when Grant Cardone is just flipping through $75 million deals, when you watch it, he's giving you the mindset of, these are all great. I'm just going to choose one.
Yeah.
I have all these options, and this is a great time. It seems like it's a great time to buy. So elaborate on why you get so fired up against that.
Marriage is very difficult.
Marriage.
Marriage. Is that what Hank says?
Princess Bride, dude.
Oh, I never saw Princess Bride.
Okay. So thanks for joining us today. I'm kidding. Go ahead. But you were talking about, yeah.
Marriage, I always use relationship analogies. Marriage is so difficult, right?
Yeah.
Finding the right person is so difficult. You don't just sit there and look at a bunch of profiles and say, I'm going to pick this person. You don't just sit there and go on 10 dates and go, that's the one for me, right? Investing is so much like marriage. There's so much emotion involved. There's so much overthinking involved. There's so much that happens. And imagine if I told you to find your wife based on just going, I'm just going to choose one of these. Would that make any sense? We look at real estate deals. Is it possible that he is sitting on so many deals that are incredible deals? Just think about how hard that is. Whenever people make something sound so easy, you got to take pause and go, why is it possible that so many people are able to do this one thing? When has it ever been true that the masses can do one thing very, very well? The masses can barely hold jobs very well, right?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, the masses are doing real estate deals. A guy like Grant Cardone is doing $100 million. Now, granted, Grant Cardone is on a different level than Joe Schmo, but at the same token, he looks at these deals like, I'll just pick one of these deals, like they're good. The other thing is, he doesn't even do his own management. I have never heard of a successful, I shouldn't say that. I have never admired a real estate owner who had third-party management. They've never done a good job in management. They're just looking at a check. They just want a check. I guarantee them that their check would be bigger if they manage themselves. They just choose to have a third-party manager because they want to spend their time doing other things. Fine, but don't think you're doing the best for your deal. You're not. At all. And some people would say, like we talked about in the previous podcast, oh, you're just not talking to the right third-party managers. No, you're just stupid and will trust anyone. It is not possible for the masses to do one thing very, very well. That is an impossibility. Because the second the masses do one thing very well, it becomes exaggerated, becomes a bubble, and before you know it, we have problems. We've never in history, as a society, done one thing very, very well for extended periods of time. 20, 30, 40 years.
Except complaining about the president.
Which is pretty easy because he makes it pretty easy.
Every president.
No, this one's pretty good about making it pretty, as a Republican, it's very funny to watch him and go, as a Republican, to watch him say things and go, do you ask for a target on your back? Like, do you literally just go, I'm going to just draw a marker right here?
Yeah, I hear you.
I'm talking about religion now or no?
Religion, abortion.
Abortion, dinosaurs.
Gay rights, dinosaurs, yes. We'll cover all that and more next. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks
for including me in my office building.
You're welcome. Thanks for joining us. Guys, we love these podcasts. I love picking Paul's brain about sort of his thoughts. I, among other people, have been telling him for years we'd love to hear his thoughts, get him on film and get him out to more people, because it's pretty interesting to talk to you about anything, whether it is asteroids, dinosaurs, religion, or real estate.
And you have great questions because you want to learn.
I am addicted to learning.
It is pretty fun, isn't it?
I try to stress it in my kids, every day I'm on YouTube learning something, whether it's cooking, photography, how to host a podcast, which I just Googled about 10 minutes before I started it. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time. Thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Seth. God, you're great. You're really good at this stuff.